Welcome back to Drain Me the Series. I'm Adeline Atlas, 8 times published author. Tech is the new environment. Mindy and Emma projections of the new human body, mutated, not evolved. To survive in any environment, the body must adapt. But not all adaptation is progress. What we're experiencing now isn't evolution. It's erosion. We are not enhancing. We are compromising. And what we are becoming no longer looks like us. It looks more like the technology we use to function. Technology dictates posture, determines pace, and trains behavior through repetition. And the body responds exactly as it's designed to. It molds. Physiology follows input. Repeated positions reshape fascia. Repeated signals rewire the nervous system. Repeated behaviors alter structure. We know this instinctively. Sit up straight and you signal confidence. Slouch long enough and it becomes your default. Now apply that to tech. Hold your body around devices long enough and the machine begins to mold the flesh. Human beings are evolving, but this time, the environment isn't just around us. It's inside our behavior. Screens have become the landscape. Notifications, the new weather. Algorithms, the new gravity. So the question isn't, are we changing? The question is, what are we changing into? Ew, Mindy is so gross. Who is Mindy? You don't know Mindy? Well, guess what? Soon, all you'll see are Mindys everywhere. TikTok goes the clock. The countdown to mutation, aka forced evolution, has already begun. But before we talk about Mindy, we need to talk about Emma. Emma is like Mindy's mother. She was normal looking, even pretty. But then, she used tech a bit too much, and her health and beauty began to suffer. Emma, the sickly worker of the future created. In 2019, Emma was a 3D model built to highlight the long-term physical effects of poor workplace ergonomics. Developed after interviews with over 3,000 office workers, Emma was a life-sized representation of what desk-bound employees might look like after years of sedentary, tech-heavy work. Her body began to reflect common conditions resulting from hours at a desk, with little movement, poor posture, and constant screen exposure. Emma's body showed a permanently hunched posture from leaning over a desk, dry, red eyes from prolonged exposure to screens, sallow skin from years under artificial lighting, physical degeneration from poor ergonomic conditions. She was designed to warn employers and employees about the hidden costs of modern work culture. But it gets worse. How could it possibly get worse? See, Emma had minor issues. Annoying, sure, even unattractive. But they were still correctable. I'm sure you were already turned off by what you just heard, but you have no idea. Emma didn't change her habits. She didn't correct her behavior. So her health and beauty were permanently damaged, and by the time she had a daughter, the genetic deformities that began with her weren't just present. They had evolved. They were passed down. And they got worse. Emma was damaged, but not mutated. Mindy, her daughter of the future, she's a freak of nature, straight out of a horror movie. Mindy is Emma's grotesque successor, pushed to the extreme. She is the physical manifestation of a digital lifestyle, an altered anatomy molded by devices, conditioned by alerts, and sculpted by sedentary behavior. She's what happens when the human body fully surrenders to tech. Built by toll-free forwarding. In collaboration with scientific experts, Mindy is a 3D model that visualizes what the human body might evolve into after more than 800 years of daily tech use. She is what your body becomes when it adapts to systems designed for machines, not humans. Mindy reflects a future where humans are no longer shaped by nature, but by notifications, deformed by screen addiction, slouched posture, and relentless exposure to artificial light. Mindy's features include a hunched back, thicker tech neck, text claw, hand deformation with a webbed thumb, 90-degree smartphone elbow, a thicker skull, a smaller brain, and even a new eyelid, a second inner eyelid to block blue light. Let's go over each of Mindy's mutated features one by one so you can fully understand the cost of forced evolution and what future generations of your bloodline can look forward to or fear. Deformed posture, the silent collapse of structure. Spine, the hunch is coming early. The human spine was designed to carry weight vertically, to balance motion and stillness, and to support an upright posture through all phases of life. But now, instead of aging into a hunch, we're inheriting it in advance. The forward-stooped posture you associate with the elderly, shoulders rolled forward, head dangling ahead of the chest, upper back rounded into a C shape, is becoming the new normal in youth. The body, especially the spine, is adapting to life curled around screens. And what was once considered a sign of degeneration in the elderly is becoming a baseline posture for the digital generations. Years of slouching over laptops, collapsing into couches with phones, and spending hours in seated positions has created a new structural default: chronic spinal flexion. This isn't just poor posture. It's a slow collapse of the body's vertical axis, a shortening of the front line of the body, and a tightening of the back chain. Once the spine bends, the rest of the skeleton follows. Tech neck, the forward tilt of a generation. What began as an occasional ache has become an epidemic. Tech neck is now the default posture of a generation. Children and teenagers are developing bone spurs at the base of their skulls, an adaptation never seen at such young ages, caused by the constant forward tilt of the head. Evolution is being recoded in real time, not by our DNA, but by our daily behavior. And the body is leaving behind structural evidence that we are bending toward devices more than we are standing for ourselves. Tech neck, also known medically as text neck, refers to the chronic forward head posture caused by prolonged screen use, especially from smartphones, tablets, and laptops. This posture places intense, unnatural strain on the cervical spine, the neck, forcing muscles, discs, and vertebrae into positions they were never designed to hold for hours at a time. Over time, this can lead to muscle strain and inflammation, herniated or bulging discs, compressed nerves, headaches and upper back tension, loss of natural cervical curvature, known as lordosis. Common symptoms include a visible forward head tilt, aching or burning in the neck and shoulders, numbness or tingling in the arms or hands, reduced range of motion, frequent headaches or migraines. Why does this happen? Because your head, which weighs around 10 to 12 pounds, exerts increasing force on your spine the further forward it tilts. With just a 15 degrees forward, the spine carries 27 pounds of pressure. At 60 degrees, it carries 60 pounds of pressure. That's the equivalent of wearing a heavy backpack on your neck, all day, every day. And in developing bodies, this rewires bone growth and muscle patterns, permanently altering form. Skull shape. Structural response to repeated exposure. One of Mindy's most visibly altered features is the structure of her skull, thicker, asymmetrical, and biologically changed due to long-term exposure to radiation, EMFs, and poor postural habits. This is not an aesthetic issue. It's a functional and anatomical response. Research is beginning to show that the human skull is subtly adapting to modern behavioral inputs. As screen use, forward head posture, and close-range device exposure become constant, the bone density in certain regions of the skull increases, particularly near the frontal and occipital lobes, where screens are most often directed and phones are held during prolonged use. This change appears to be the body's attempt to shield the brain from persistent, low-level electromagnetic exposure and chronic strain. Over time, the strain caused by tech neck, the repetitive forward positioning of the head, alters how the skull balances atop the spine. This shifts muscular tension patterns and may lead to skeletal remodeling, especially in individuals whose posture remains compromised for hours every day. Mindy's skull also shows signs of structural asymmetry. This is the result of dominant side usage, holding a phone to one ear, always angling the head in the same direction, or favoring one side of the body during screen interaction. These habits, repeated daily, begin to alter the growth and alignment of bone. Over years, they can result in facial and cranial imbalance that is visible even at rest. This adaptation is not random. It reflects how environmental input shapes physical structure over time. The human skull, once a stable and symmetrical container for the brain, is now subject to change in response to external pressure, postural distortion, and device-related behavior. These changes are slow, cumulative, and largely unnoticed until they become permanent. Lower body degeneration, hips, glutes, and core collapse. One of the most overlooked but significant physical consequences of tech-driven stillness is the uneven distribution of muscle mass in the lower body. As humans have shifted from movement-based survival to sedentary screen-bound living, the natural muscle balance of the body has been disrupted. People who sit for long periods, especially in the modern tech-seated posture, are developing overdeveloped front thighs, quadriceps, while losing strength and size in the glutes and hamstrings, the very muscles responsible for upright walking, balance, and propulsion. This isn't just an aesthetic issue, it's a structural one. Without strong posterior chain muscles, the body can no longer properly stack itself. The spine loses its foundation. The pelvis tilts forward. The core disengages. What was once a kinetic chain becomes a collapsing frame. Hips that once propelled us forward now remain locked at 90-degree angles. Glutes that once stabilized every step now go dormant. The core, once a source of strength and spinal support, is now quiet and forgotten. The consequences are twofold. Not only does the body lose its natural power, but that lost power doesn't just disappear. It becomes available to systems designed to capitalize on your stillness. You lose more than muscle. You lose momentum, energy, and independence. The more sedentary the body becomes, the more externally dependent the human becomes. On chairs, on cars, on tech, on pills. What used to be built into us now has to be bought. And that's the hidden cost. When the body stops generating energy through motion, the feedback loop of strength and self-sufficiency is erased. You don't just lose muscle, you lose power. And that power gets rerouted, commodified, and sold back to you. Hands. The rise of the text claw. The human hand, once a tool of craftsmanship, capable of weaving baskets, planting seeds, sculpting clay, and penning pages of thought, has now been reduced to a closed claw, frozen in the grip of a device. As smartphones become extensions of the self, the hand has started to morph into a utility for input rather than creation. We're witnessing the rise of text claw, a modern muscular distortion caused by constant gripping, tapping, and swiping. The repetitive stress placed on the fingers and wrist has given way to carpal tunnel syndrome, trigger finger, and even signs of early-onset arthritis in young adults. The hand is no longer free to move through a full range of motion. It is clenched, inflamed, and compressed. Once the symbol of human creativity, the hand has become a prisoner of the scroll loop, a tool of consumption stuck in permanent submission to the screen. The pain? That's not random. It's the body's signal that the tool is breaking. Thumb deformation. The thumb, once a defining marker of human dexterity, is undergoing a strange and silent transformation. As our dominant digit, the thumb has become a hyper-specialized muscle group, overused, inflamed, and abnormally developed due to its unnatural workload. With the constant demand of scrolling, texting, and tapping, the fleshy webbing between the thumb and index finger is being stretched and widened, slowly elongating to accommodate oversized thumb muscles. This isn't sci-fi, it's real-time adaptation. Over time, the hand is shifting toward a webbed structure, evolving not for survival or creation, but for mechanical endurance. The human thumb is being reshaped to support endless device manipulation. This thickening and widening, once reserved for gripping tools or climbing trees, is now dedicated to navigating infinite digital menus. The irony? We're evolving not upward, but inward, into a closed loop of input. The deformed pinky. It's subtle, but if you look closely, it's there. The deformed pinky, also known as smartphone pinky, is a visible indentation or curve forming in the little finger from the weight of a phone resting on it day after day. This isn't just cosmetic. The pinky is structurally compromising under the pressure, collapsing into a new resting position to compensate for how often it props up a device. What was once a stabilizer for fine motor tasks is now bearing the brunt of digital overuse, adapting into a weight-bearing hook. This small dent in the flesh, this shift in bone alignment, is not an accident. It's a wear pattern, the physical imprint of dependency. The pinky doesn't just hurt, it's retreating, slowly reshaping itself in service to a device it was never meant to carry. Evolution isn't waiting for the far future. It's already molding us. The mutated face, blue light, the glow that drains you. The impact of technology goes far beyond posture. It's reshaping our skin, our faces, and even how we age. And at the center of it all is one of the most underestimated forces in your environment: blue light. You might think that warm glow lighting up your face during a late-night scroll is harmless, even cozy. But that glow, it's not neutral. It's a constant stream of high-energy visible light radiating from every screen you use. And it's slowly altering the human body in ways we're only beginning to understand. Your tech-savvy tan blue light is the tech world's version of sunlight, minus the vitamin D. It radiates from smartphones, tablets, laptops, and LED lighting. But unlike natural light, which regulates hormones and circadian rhythm, blue light disrupts them. It keeps your system wired, your skin inflamed, and your cells on edge. Even 1 hour of screen exposure is enough to trigger oxidative stress, activate inflammatory pathways, and initiate cellular damage beneath the surface. Unlike UV rays, blue light doesn't stop at the skin's outer layers. It penetrates deep into the dermis, directly attacking collagen and elastin, the proteins that keep your skin plump, firm, and youthful. As these internal support structures break down, your skin loses its shape from the inside out. The result? Premature fine lines, dryness, sagging, and uneven tone. It's not just a tired face, it's what I call eternal Zoom meeting face. And now, there's a new kind of tan emerging, not from the beach, but from the screen. That warm, golden hue you might see on your face after long screen sessions isn't a glow, it's damage. Dermatologists call it blue light-induced hyperpigmentation, also known as HEV, high-energy visible light. Blue light can alter melanocyte behavior in ways UV can't, leading to unpredictable pigmentation across the cheeks, forehead, and nose. This so-called digital tan isn't a sign of health, it's a warning sign. Studies now link chronic blue light exposure to melasma, age spots, uneven skin tone, and even precancerous cellular activity. And the worst part? Traditional sunscreen doesn't protect you. SPF blocks UV rays, but it does almost nothing against the deeper effects of blue light. That's why a new category of skincare is emerging: blue light blocking facial creams and serums designed specifically for digital overexposure. For anyone spending hours in front of a screen, whether for work, school, or entertainment, these aren't luxuries. They're essential. Sleep hijacked, system scrambled. But blue light's reach doesn't stop at the skin. It seeps deeper, into your hormonal systems, your circadian rhythm, and your nervous system. Blue light exposure suppresses melatonin, the hormone that signals your body to wind down and rest. In its place, cortisol, your stress hormone, lingers longer, keeping your system alert even when your mind is exhausted. You're stuck in a low-grade fight-or-flight loop, unable to fully recharge. You don't just lose sleep, you lose physiological regulation. Your digestion, your immunity, your emotional stability all suffer. Your body becomes tense, depleted, and resistant to recovery. You wake up unrested, you stay inflamed, and you wonder why rest no longer works. The second eyelid, the blue light barrier. The human eye evolved to scan vast landscapes and distant horizons, not to lock onto glowing rectangles held inches from the face. What began as natural vision has now become a perpetual state of contraction, both physical and perceptual. Your peripheral vision is fading, and the flexibility of your eye lens is narrowing. The muscles that once expanded your gaze are weakening, and with it, so is your worldview. The narrowing of the gaze becomes symbolic of a narrowed perception. You no longer scan the world. You scroll a feed. You don't observe, you absorb. The scope of your attention shrinks with the size of your screen. This is not without consequence. Digital eye strain, blurred vision, and disrupted sleep cycles have become the norm. The human body wasn't designed to live in pixels, and the eyes, sensitive biological sensors, are taking the hit. As screen exposure becomes a 24/7 phenomenon, the body, in a desperate act of self-preservation, begins to adapt. Enter Mindy's second eyelid, a projected evolutionary response to constant blue light exposure. This inner membrane acts as a biological blue light filter, reducing the damage caused by artificial brightness. It's the body's attempt to erect a barrier between the soul and the screen, a passive shield formed through generations of digital assault. And yet, even in our current world, we're already reaching for tools to cope. Blue light glasses have become the modern warrior's armor, a stylish, intentional form of resistance. More than just trendy accessories, they're boundary setters. They filter out the most damaging light spectrum, reduce ocular strain, and help reestablish some semblance of biological balance in a tech-heavy world. Some studies suggest blue light blockers can improve sleep, boost focus, and regulate mood. The mutated face, asymmetry, acceleration, and silent erosion. The face, once a symbol of identity and symmetry, is now beginning to warp under the weight of modern technology. What used to reflect balance and biology is now being reshaped by habits, radiation, and digital strain. These are not cosmetic shifts. They're physical symptoms of a system that is remodeling the human body in real time. Facial asymmetry. Take a close look at someone's smile. You'll start to notice that one side pulls back further than the other, not because one side is stronger, but because the other has begun to lose structure. Over time, people's faces are subtly rotating to the left. This isn't a myth. It's a wear pattern caused by constant screen use, where the head is tilted slightly in one direction, often to the right when cradling a phone, or to the left when scrolling with one hand. This chronic positioning causes facial muscles and fat pads to atrophy unevenly, resulting in lopsided cheeks, jaw tension, and even uneven eye placement. The human face is no longer symmetrical. It's being pulled off-center, morphing toward the side of habitual consumption. Heat-driven aging. The 5G facial melt. What many people mistake for natural aging is actually microwave damage. 5G, operating at high-frequency millimeter waves, produces a heat field up to 40x stronger than 4G. And the face, especially during long phone calls or screen time, is directly in the blast zone. The skin's fat pads begin to melt prematurely, causing sunken cheeks, hollow eyes, and deepened nasolabial folds. You're not just aging faster, you're being cooked on a cellular level. Heat-induced volume loss is a silent epidemic among tech-heavy users, and it's happening years, sometimes decades, before expected. Hair loss. Hair loss used to be a slow sign of aging. Now it's showing up in younger and younger people, especially around the hairline and crown. This isn't just genetic, it's radiation-induced weakening of the follicle. EMFs emitted from phones, laptops, and wireless headsets are increasingly linked to inflammation in the scalp and disrupted blood flow to the follicles. The front of the scalp, where most people hold or angle devices, is particularly vulnerable. What was once gradual thinning over time is becoming accelerated fallout, directly tied to tech proximity. Shrinking ears. You may not have noticed it yet, but once you do, you won't be able to unsee it. Most people now have one ear that's visibly smaller or flatter than the other. This is the result of holding phones to one side of the head for hours each day. That pressure, heat, and radiation slowly degrade the fat and cartilage of the ear, causing it to shrink, collapse, or change shape. This is especially alarming because ears are supposed to appear larger as we age. Our faces lose volume, and the contrast makes the ears seem more pronounced. But now, with one ear structurally collapsing due to EMF exposure, we're witnessing a new kind of facial imbalance. One that isn't caused by genetics, but by lifestyle radiation. Screen apnea, the invisible drain, jaw, tongue, and mouth. How posture is reshaping the face. Mouths are falling open, tongues are resting low. Breathing has shifted from the nose to the mouth, a signal of chronic stress in the nervous system. The combination of forward head posture, blue light strain, and nervous system activation is now creating jaw misalignment, snoring, and the rise of sleep apnea in young, otherwise healthy adults. This shift isn't subtle. It's structural. It's reshaping facial development in children. The jaw pulls down, the tongue drops, and the once wide supportive structure of the midface narrows. Mouth breathing elongates the face, weakens the sinuses, and contributes to poor sleep quality and impaired focus. It is the erosion of breath-based energy, and it's producing generations that operate on shallow, ungrounded voltage. Breath has become shallow, sporadic, collapsed. We've traded full diaphragmatic breathing for panic breathing, but breath is more than oxygen. Breath is voltage. It feeds your field. Without it, your aura tightens, your chi drains. You're not just oxygen deprived, you're energetically compromised. Breath is your link to the bioelectric web of life. When it's disrupted, you disconnect not only from your body, but from the field. You're not breathing, not when you're scrolling, not when you're typing, not when you're hunched over the blue glow of a screen. And it's not your fault. No one told you this was happening, but it is. The silent epidemic. What is screen apnea? Screen apnea is the silent epidemic no one is talking about. The moment your eyes meet the screen, your breath halts. A full-body micro-bracing freeze-like effect begins for your breathing, as if your nervous system is preparing for attack. You think you're just replying to a message, but your body interprets the screen as a threat, so it locks. It holds tension. It holds breath. It holds energy. This pattern repeats itself hundreds of times a day. And with each shallow inhale or forgotten exhale, your physiology shifts. Your breath moves from the low belly, where calm resides, into the upper chest, where panic begins. Your nervous system tips from parasympathetic, rest and digest, into sympathetic, fight or flight. Your jaw slackens, your tongue drops, and before you know it, mouth breathing becomes your new baseline. This isn't just poor breathing. This is facial reprogramming. The very structure of your face is changing because of it. Mouth breathing pulls the jaw downward, elongates the face, narrows the nasal airway, and weakens the entire mid-face structure. Over time, this leads to snoring, disrupted sleep, misaligned teeth, and a collapsing airway. The nose no longer dominates. The mouth begins to hang open, even during rest. Children are now showing facial narrowing and underdeveloped jaws at rates never seen before. This isn't evolution. It's adaptive degeneration, triggered by devices. Each breath is a voltage charge. Your lungs are not just bags of air. They're electromagnetic pumps that help sustain the energy field around you. When you hold your breath, you don't just withhold oxygen. You suppress your frequency. Your biofield shrinks. Your energetic boundaries collapse. You become more programmable, more receptive to the signals being broadcast through your screen. Breath isn't just biology, it's your energetic firewall. Now layer in the devices themselves. Screens that flicker at 60+ hertz. EMFs that radiate into your lap, your palms, your chest. Light that suppresses melatonin and hijacks your sleep cycles. These elements create the perfect storm. Your breath disappears, your posture collapses, and you're left in front of a digital portal, exposed, unguarded, and drained. What you feel after a quick scroll isn't just fatigue, it's voltage loss. You didn't just give time to the device, you gave your charge. Every time you check a screen, there's a moment you stop breathing. Not a deep breath, not a controlled pause, but an unconscious freeze, your nervous system bracing for input. Holding your breath signals your body that something is wrong. It's the posture of anticipation, of stress, of survival. And you're doing it just to check your phone. Over time, this constant mini-bracing begins to rewire your physiology. Your breathing becomes chest-based instead of belly-driven. Your vagus nerve becomes deactivated, disrupting calm, digestion, and rest. Your jaw falls open, and mouth breathing becomes your default. You begin breathing vertically, shallow, panicked, instead of horizontally, grounded, expansive. Mouth breathing is not neutral. It reshapes your face. The tongue no longer rests on the roof of the mouth. The jaw slackens. The sinuses collapse. The airway narrows, and your sleep begins to suffer. This is no longer just about oxygen. This is about energy. Your lungs are electromagnetic organs. The moment you stop breathing, your internal frequency drops. Your aura destabilizes. You become easier to influence. The tick-tock. Tick. When the nervous system starts to glitch, this isn't a projection of what could happen. It's already happening. The tick-tock tick is not something Mindy, the grotesque future human, will suffer from. It's something real teenagers are experiencing right now. We are not just witnessing screen addiction. We are witnessing neurological destabilization in real time. Brain fog, phantom vibrations, notification anxiety, shattered attention spans. This is not an overreaction. It's fragmentation. The breaking of neural rhythm into fast reactive pieces. The brain is no longer trained for reflection or stillness. It's trained for pings, paces, loops, and loops again. You are no longer a deep thinker. You are a fast responder. The device dictates your rhythm. The ping becomes your drum. And the more you respond, the less you reflect. This isn't evolution. It's reprogramming. Headaches. The screen's parting gift. You've been staring at a screen for hours. Your temples are tight. Your forehead pulses. You assume it's stress. But it's not just stress. It's your device, saying goodbye with a headache. Welcome to computer vision syndrome, CVS. Digital eye strain from sustained screen exposure. Your eyes strain to focus on glowing rectangles not made for biology. The longer you stare, the harder your ocular muscles work, and the deeper the blue light penetrates your retina, disrupting sleep hormones and exhausting your internal clock. Unlike natural light, which calibrates your circadian rhythm, screen light scrambles it. This isn't a random migraine. It's engineered exhaustion, the symptom of light-induced fatigue. The tick-tock tick, neurological dysfunction in real time now. For the part that sounds like science fiction, but isn't. The tick-tock tick is a real, modern neurological disorder now emerging in teenagers worldwide. We're talking about involuntary twitches, facial spasms, and motor tics, symptoms historically seen in degenerative diseases like Parkinson's or Tourette's syndrome. But there's no family history, no genetic trigger, no medical precursor. These are otherwise healthy young people presenting with tremors, vocal tics, and repetitive movements. And the one thing they all have in common? Excessive use of short-form video platforms, primarily TikTok. This is not mimicry. It is not just a trend. This is neurological overload, a system running too fast with nowhere to ground. How TikTok rewires the nervous system. TikTok's algorithm doesn't operate on logic. It operates on dopamine. The platform hijacks the limbic system, the part of the brain that processes emotion, motivation, and survival signals. The rapid pacing, unpredictable rewards, fast edits, and endless novelty keep the brain stuck in anticipation mode, triggering hit after hit of stimulation. In teens, whose nervous systems are still forming, the cost is high. Unregulated voltage surges through their systems. They don't settle. They don't ground. The energy builds up until it has no choice but to express itself physically, through tics, spasms, and movements they can't control. Clinicians are now diagnosing this condition as a social media-induced tic disorder, a term that didn't exist even a few years ago. Hospitals and psychologists globally have reported spikes in adolescent patients exhibiting these symptoms with no prior neurological history. And the common denominator is always obsessive social media use. This is more than a mental health issue. This is nervous system dysregulation at the electrical level. These aren't random habits. They're symptoms of a brain being trained to glitch, a body pulsing with overstimulation. The tick-tock tick is not a warning for the future. It's a diagnosis of the present. And we should be treating it with the seriousness of a societal emergency. It's not evolution. It's mutation. Modern tech companies love to say they've filtered out the harmful stuff. Many devices now emit less UV. But blue light hasn't gone anywhere, and it's just as damaging, if not more, because we underestimate it. The truth is, we did not evolve to handle this level of synthetic glare. Our bodies are reacting, adapting. But this isn't natural evolution. This is environmental mutation, accelerated by the electromagnetic world we now live in. Mindy is the blueprint of what happens when the human body adapts to unnatural systems for too long. Every distortion in her posture, face, hands, and breath is rooted in behaviors that have already begun. She wasn't born this way. She was shaped. Shaped by screens, by radiation, by seated living, by low-quality breath, by poor sleep, and by overstimulation. Mindy was built, not all at once, but over time. And if she was built, she can be unbuilt. Because none of this is random. It's environmental. And anything that's programmed can be reprogrammed. Will we become Mindy? Or will you use this knowledge to adapt your game and stay in control of the evolution of your body? If this video hit, there's more where that came from. This is just one part of School of Soul, Volume 5, Drain Me. Look at our world is changing. AI is taking over, and our entire lives are about to be tech until we finally merge with machine. The Drain Me series breaks down how modern tech drains the human body, psychologically, electrically, emotionally, and energetically. From wearable devices and 5G to screen apnea, energy harvesting, and biometric tracking, it's all in there. You use technology every single day. It's time you learn what it is, what it actually does, and what it's harvesting from you. You can take the Drain Me video series individually or unlock all volumes inside the School of Soul Vault by clicking the links below.